Hi guys, here we are again. In this series of tutorial I will show you how to recreate this model of phone in Cinema 4D and render it on V-Ray. So let's begin. As you can see in my scene I have done a simple rig with this cube and a camera projection to recreate this model by this image. I have set it up my camera with the right focal length to match this image. In my case it's 85mm. For to be very precise, just to be roughly to match a bit your proportion. Another important thing to do to match the image for the better modeling parts, it's to match the render size of your render in Cinema 4D with the dimension of the image. And also I have created a background object still in Cinema 4D, and then I have applied on it my image to create my reference for modeling. I have also linked my camera with an null, position it on the center of my cube to create a simple rig so when I rotated my camera the center of my view is still on the cube, and I don't have a problem by resetting the cube in the right position in my scene. Okay, time to modeling now. First of all, make the cube editable by pressing C on your keyboard. Okay, now start to select your points on the cube to and move it to roughly match the size of the font on your image. To create the basic L shape of the model, just delete the backwards points and start moving the front points on position and scale it properly. Now it's time to shape the front part of the model. To do this, use the Cut tool by clicking K on your keyboard and now L for loop cut. Shape a bit the new cut by moving the points and the segment on the Z-axis and use the left view to better see the curvature of your model. Now bevel the front edge of the model, and to do this right click, bevel, and disable on the bevel option Funk Break Rounding. Resize a bit the model in the front part by using the Scale tool. And now it's time to model the upper part of the base of the telephone. To do this, use the extrude command to create a basic set of the model. After doing this, we must have to subdivide this to create the rounding shape to hold the receiver parts. Subdivide the model with few cuts, and after doing this, move the new edges down a bit to create the rounded parts for holding the receiver. Now it's time to create the receiver of the phone. Use a basic cylinder to create the roughly shape of these objects. Reshape the bottom part to fit with the receiver. To create the other parts of the receiver, simply copy the basic cylinder, rotate it, and size it properly to match the image. Make it editable and start to do some cut to fit the shape of the phone. Scale up the new edge created to reach the right diameter of the object. Use the symmetry modifier to create the last basic part of the receiver and align all the parts to re-put them in the proper position. Let's move on the main body. Select all the faces and extrude it with the Create Caps option activated. When you are done, invert all the normal, because the extrusion creates at once. After, make sure the whole model works right, if not, simply reshape it a bit. Now it's time to create the supporting edge for the main body, in order to prepare the geometry loop base to create the circle in the middle of the model. Use the Cut Edge tool in loop mode and make 2 cuts in the middle. Select the 2 edge loop and scale it up. If it's necessary, add another edge loop to fix geometry. Hide the receiver and select all the faces that want to be deleted to create the hole in the receiver holder. Delete it and start close the open faces. To do this, use the Bridge tool by merging related edges. Simply drag and drop each other. Move on the bottom part. Create some edge loop for the support, then delete the part to create the hole in the base. Match it with the proportion of the reference. delete the faces to create the hole and bridge all the sides. Now it's time to create the inner cylinder that all the phone commands. To do this, I have created a cylinder to have roughly proportion of the part that I go to model. I scale it down, rotate, and move to match the position in my reference. I continue to move it until I'm happy with it, shape and position. The cylinder gave me the reference, so it's time to match the geometry of the model with it. First, I create a new edge loop in the middle, then I start to move the bottom edge close to the cylinder. When doing this kind of process, make sure to maintain the correct surface flow on the model. Select an half of the model and delete it. Now add the symmetry modifier. By use this, I have only to model an half of the object. Reshape the geometry to match the border of the cylinder. Try to match it as best as you can, and always pay attention to the surface flow. If it's necessary, add some edge loop, then continue the process of matching the vertex. Another important thing to keep in mind is to create a proper edge flow, so move the line to have a good result. Adjust the size of the model to correct the flow of the borders. Match the last few points, and after you be sure that the work is good, hide the cylinder. Collapse the symmetry and select the polygons in the center of the front part. Use the extrude inner command and move the new faces up a bit, then refine the geometry. Go to face mode and extrude inner it a bit to create the border. Now extrude it inwards, deactivate the create caps option. Now it's time to create the back part. Select all the faces and extrude it backwards. And add some support loop by extruding it a few times. I have some problem on the back, so I fix it to join the wrong vertex. Now, select the resulted edge loop and bevel it to create the passage for cables. Check the measure with the reference image and clean up the vertices that are not vertically aligned. Move them in the correct position and add some edge loop to create the base for the curved part. Select the two edge loops and move up to match the reference. Add to the model the Subdivision Surface modifier. As you can see, by this time the model is very smoothed. We must avoid this by adding some edge loop in the border and fix the flow of the surface. Let's continue to add some edge loop to refine our model. We need to add another loop cut on the receiver holder part to shape it better. Do the same on the other side. Select the vertices on the back parts and move back a bit. Now select the newest cut, align it vertically and move it up a bit to create a better rounded part. After, reactivate the subdivision modifier to see the result. Move in the back of the model and start adjust the rear cylinder. Add to it some edge loop to make it more crisp surface with just a little bevel. Add another edge loop on the top of the main part. Now, let's move on the main front cylindrical part. Use the cut tool to shape a new edge flow on it. At this stage, don't worry about the new ugly geometry, we will fix later. Complete all the loop and close the tool. As you can see, I have a nicer look when I subdivide the surface. Let's start to fix triangles. Weld this 2 point in the mid by using the weld tool. Do the same on the other triangle of these edge loops. By doing this operation, the circle is more rounded and looks very nice. Select the point on the side. They currently distort my model. Make sure to unselect the vertex in the middle because I don't want to move it. Move this point in the correct position and adjust it on the front side of the model by correcting the shape with the scale tool. Let's fix the back triangles by welding them like I did before. Select these vertices and reshape it with the scale tool to correct the edge flow. Now I have more straight lines that go down from the middle of the circle. Return to work on the mid part. I want to increase the definition of the border. To do this, add some edge loop like we did before. If we put the loop more close each other, we can make more sharp edge. They looks good! I need some new edge loop to have a nicer flow on the order without create ugly results. To do this, add two edge loop on both sides of the phone. Reshape the flow of the front edge by moving them far from the mid-circle. I think it's a good work. We need to have a rounded part on the back of the holder. So we must move the vertices to create a rounded surface on this part. Select the vertices and move it inwards. Do the same on the other vertices. Now do the same on the other side. Select all the outer vertex and move it down. Refine the shape properly. Now, fix the geometry with the cut tool. We want to create a new edge flow on all this part of the model. Delete the undesired edge by using the dissolve tool. Now, with the slide tool, fix the vertex position to have a good flow. I will do the same on the back and both front and back of the other parts of the model. To complete this part, simply close the loop with the cut tool. Move on the base to refine them. I want a more rounded corner, so I move the edge loop away from the corner of the model. I repeat the process a few times using the move and scale tool to create the desired result. Okay, it's time to complete the base for the receiver. Select the mid-cylinder and make it editable, with only 8 rotation segments. We must create a welding from it to the end parts of the receiver. By doing this, I want to reduce the number of edge loop of these parts. So, I select the edge that I want to remove and I delete the top and bottom part. With all the edges selected, simply dissolve it. After, I remove it from the symmetry modifier. Select the cap and delete it. Remove all the parts behind the newest. Select both objects and join them together. By using the cut tool, I create the base loop for join them. I put the vertex in the correct position with the slide tool. Now, create a new edge loop based on the cylinder and delete the vertices that compenetrate into the other part. Select and delete these faces to create the hole in the surface. And now bridge all the edges to complete the weldings. Put the newest geometry under the symmetry modifier and reset properly the center. After, add to it a subdivision surface modifier. The result is good, but I want to close my ugly geometry to complete the edge loop on my model. So, with the cut tool, I created the newest loop cut and merging them with the other vertices. I move these edges more close on the welded part to create a more nicer surface look. Now, close the hole in the receiver with the Close Polygon Holes tool. and extrude inner it. Select all the surfaces on the cap, align their center and scale it down a bit on their plane. Connect all the edges and clean up the model flow. Do the same on the bottom part. Select all the new faces and shape it properly with some extrusion to create the right shape. Move the inner faces down a bit. As you can see, the result is too smoothed, so we must have to add some loops to fix it. Extrude inner one more time the top part. Do it again on the bottom to create the sharp edge and fixed bed geometry. Here we go! We have completed the basic shape of the model. In the next video, we focus on modeling the details and the cable for it. I recommend you to subscribe and check my link in the description for my Instagram page and so much more. Bye!